So this is my office for today, maybe tomorrow. I've been commissioned to come out here and take care of some body fitment issues with this thing. So this is a 360 Modena, and it got an aftermarket Stradale body kit put on it, but there are things like this, and this, and this, and this, and this, which is missing, that he wants me to take care of. While I'm out here, I will also be, once all this is finished up, I will be doing a general detail on the car, if not going through and doing like paint correction and ceramic and stuff like that. Car's almost ready. It has had a lot of work done to it. It's had, like I said, this body kit done. It's had carbon ceramic brakes added. It's had lightweight seats. It has had fire extinguisher, a couple other odds and ends, bits and bobs that he wants to, have it all be super lightweight, fun to drive, which apparently it is. But these little details are what I came here to do, and I was brought out here on the basis that he likes my attention to detail. He's seen my other cars, he's seen the things that I work on, that I do, and was like, I think you'd be a good fit to get this car done. So that's what I'm here to do. Okay, so I've been under here for a second now, kind of got the wheel liner out, wheel off, obviously. And what I'm doing is I look back here to see, if this can be sucked in at all, and it can't. And the reason for that is because it actually sits, again, this is aftermarket fiberglass. It sits right up against the body or the inner structure there, so it can't come in any further if it wanted to, meaning it has to be trimmed. So I've taken the nut from there, and then loosened up these ones under here. And then what I'm hoping to do is not have to take the whole thing off, because that actually requires getting in. You have to pop door sill off. This is actually a cover plate, so that's got to come off, that's got to come out, that, etc. Then you got to pull the whole side skirt off. Like, that's what it takes to do all that. So I don't want to do that. So what I'm hoping is I can get it loose enough from the body and from down here, so I'm loosening up all these, to just drop it out. I mean, it's fiberglass, so it's flexible. Drop out a little bit, and then we will mask off the body and see if we can use this to get some of that off and allow it to sit flush, because as it stands, it's literally right here, just sitting against the body, against that inside structure. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get it loosened up, drop it down, tape it up, and see what we can do. It's really cool that I'm working on this. Okay, so I did have to take all that off to get this to this point in order to safely cut it, away from the car. But yes, in effect, what's happening is, and you can probably see it right there where my finger's at, that is where it's hitting the body, right up there in that corner, which you can see the paint being rubbed off right there. And yeah, so right there it's hitting the body. So you can see the paint being rubbed off right there, and then a little bit right here. So in essence, all I have to do really is trim this back just a hair. The problem is it took all of that just to get this off and go zip, and then put it all back. It was, again, wheel off, liner out, underneath it, stow plate, door striker, all that had to come out just to pull this out to fucking 4 inches. So anyway, now that I got that out, I may just go to the other side, and I'm gonna talk with the owner and kind of, instruct him I'm going to have to cut this and see where he goes, and then we'll go from there. And then to further illustrate the point and really explain what's going on, that's how far we have to the body on, from this to the outside of the quarter panel. And then right here, right at the edge of that. And we've still got, well, I wish I could show the other side of this, but there we go. We've got another couple millimeters until we get to the edge of this. In other words, this is, yeah, it's too wide. That's what the problem is. That's too wide. I know that that's not 2 centimeters. It's not supposed before that. So, yeah, we're gonna trim it up. All right, the other thing that he wants me to take care of is the fact that you can see this is forward about 1/8 of an inch, and it's inward by about the same. So I'm going to pull there's a bolt up here, a nut up there. I'm gonna pull that and see if we can get this loosened up so I can move that back out, because as you can see, he's had some rubbing going on right, there we go. Yeah, as you can see, he's had some rubbing going on right there, and that's visible on the tire too. So this thing it only rubs on this side, not the other side, so it's just a matter of adjusting, this, like I said, that nut right there is what I'm assuming to be it, so we're gonna listen and see what happens. And yeah, see if we can't fix this gap right there and get that pushed back that way. So yeah, for the bumper, it looks like we've got a nut right there, and then we've got a bracket with 2 bolts right there. These guys are they're not for the forward and back movement, but those 2 are in slotted holes, so it appears that they're going to be the ones that we need to move. So get these loosened up, right? 17s, 18s, 19s, loosen those, and then that should take this whole assembly back once I loosen this one as well. The other thing that he's going to have me do is, you're going to notice, again, aftermarket bumper, there's no holes for the plate to go. So I'm going to measure the distance between 2 license plate lights, which I just did, is 14 millimeters or centimeters, which puts it 7 as a halfway mark. We'll put a piece of tape there, mark out from there, measure each way there, make sure it's square, and drill holes. Perfect. Okay, so now that this is nice and even with where we need it to be, looks a hell of a lot better. We've also got this leveled out. See, that looks real nice there. I adjusted those. There's some washers behind these 2. There were never washers there, so I ended up taking this blade off and beating it back flat because it was kind of sunk in from the nuts, so it's just over tightened improperly. So I put flattened out, and then I put washers on it, so that's nice and where it's supposed to be. So we can see we brought it out, about 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 or so. With that, this is all reassembled. The tubing, the drains and stuff like that are all back where they're supposed to be. All of the nuts for this, or the bolts for this, are put back where they're supposed to be. We can now reinstall the fender liner in here, and then I'll keep the wheels off because we're going to be doing detail, so we might end up ceramic coating these and doing a general cleaning inside of here before we put the wheels back on. But yeah, that's a couple hours later. Everything's back where it's supposed to be. That's actually where it's supposed to be for the first time, and we're ready to ride. Day 2, got coffee, back out here. We're gonna start with this license plate. That is all lined up. The tape's crooked, but the holes are square in the middle there. One of the issues that we have is that the plate itself is too tall to fit all the way inside of the recess here. So there is 2 options, or there are 2 options. One is to just mount it and then have it kind of hang out the bottom like that, or we can trim the plate itself so that it fits flushly up there and doesn't have any issues. I mean, it'll fit, but like I said, it's just gonna sit right there. I worry personally about that, like scraping the paint right there, unless there was some type of PPF, which isn't what we're doing. So waiting word back from him on what he wants to do with that. The second thing we're gonna be doing this morning, since it's not quite hot yet, is we're going to get the grill mounted right here. I'm gonna figure out a creative way to do that, so let's grab that. So that's this, and it goes behind there. So we gotta figure out a way to mount that, hopefully without dropping the bumper, but most likely we're probably gonna have to do that. So here's a very rough mock-up. I think I'm probably gonna have to take the bumper off, even though I put the liner back in yesterday. That's also why I put the wheel back on. But this piece, what I've done so far is I took a piece of aluminum and I made a tab that sits up in here, and it's like a pressure fit tab, so it's got a little notch in it, so it'll slide back. So what I'm thinking is I'll make something of like a hook that will go inside the grate and then pull it forward and snap it into place. I can use this stuff right here. It's my favorite fabricating adhesive. I use this stuff on absolutely everything, and so people don't steal my expensive ass gun. You see I got the branding on there, but anyway, I'm gonna glue that tab in there at the bottom, probably 2 more on the sides, and then one more up top. Ideally, I could put a screw in this thing, but this isn't really solidly, it's not solid, it's hollow in here, and there's no access there, or there. I'm still not putting a screw up. I'm not putting any visible screws in this thing, I refuse. So yes, 3 basically snap tabs that will go in there, made out of a decent grade aluminum. And the other option that I could do is, if I did take this thing off, I can fill these cavities with the panel bond and then drill holes into that, and then that'll be something solid that it can mount to. So there's a couple different ways that I can approach this. I'm just going to keep making these little tabs and see, if conceptually it works out. If so, that's what we'll run with. This is what you do when you need to inject something around a corner, or it's too big to fit your gun in there, and you don't want to take this bumper off. Put a piece of heat shrink on it. So in here I've got 2 studs loosely glued. They're just kind of hanging out there for now, held up by the tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to inject this around the corner there and let this sit while I work on other stuff. And by the time that happens, it should have studs permanently glued to it. So now, it's been a couple hours and we've got studs. I have to pick the rest of this tape off once it's completely dry, but yeah, we've got mounted studs on the back of that, so that should sit nicely. We've got this bracket that I made that actually uses these rib nuts that were put in here before, so those are in, that's in. So the idea is now I can stick this in on this bracket, it'll be spring loaded behind that, and then pressure fit onto those 2. So next up, we're up front here and messing with this gasket, but also the alignment of this bumper, because you see a 1/4 inch gap there. So we're going to fix that. So let's hop to it. All that's really going to take, if it's anything like the back bumper, is I'm going to put, again, washers on this. As you can see by the lighting around it, that these nuts have kind of sunk in the shim here, or this bracket. So that's why yesterday I went and bought some washers so that I could take this piece of metal off and then flatten it and then put washers on the nuts so that we can kind of spread that force out instead of just sinking it dead in there, because, well, it's obviously not right. So we want to get this piece of metal off, we're going to flatten it, washers, and then set it where it's actually supposed to be set. So with these loose, see the difference that it makes there. So I'm just gonna get those in there and tighten it up right there. So this is the back side of that piece. It's kind of what I was talking about, how it's been kind of bent up a little bit, so the force isn't really being spread out across this plate. It's just kind of being sunk right in the middle, which isn't really helping anything. So let's flatten it out. So the way to do this is really simple. It's, you know, I've got wood here. All right, so now that that's flat, take our newly flattened metal washers and stick this back on there, like so. And take these, put them on there like that, and then take these two and put them on there like that, and get them finger tight, at least as much as I can with the nylon on them. And then make sure you can still move the panel. Yeah. So it wants to be, see how that moves? So yeah, we want this as inboard as possible. If that's even gonna be enough, honestly. That might be the most we can get it. Let's find out. Hold that there. See, yeah, that's as tight as we can get that in there. So, a couple ways to go about this. One, we can leave it. Two, there is this bracket that's zinc coated or brass coated behind it. We can take that off, and we can give it a little bit more room to have the studs go over that way. That's probably one idea. There is a bigger nut on this side of this thing. It's got a plastic bushing in between it. That could be a thing. Let's take these back off. It got dark. See, it's hitting something else, so we ain't even got to do nothing with that bracket, but we do know something else is hitting and keeping us from getting this to sit all the way in. I don't know what that is yet. I'll have to take a deeper look around here. This could be part of it. I doubt it. I'll be touching that, and we're talking up here, not down there. It's hitting somewhere. I hope we don't have to turn the top of this thing. That would suck. I had to do that on the side skirt. It's hitting smack against something. Okay. I found it. It is hitting against the nut that's on the other side of this bolt here. So we might have to pull the front bumper off and see if we can kind of get some stuff behind, remove some material off of this behind that so that it can fit in where it's supposed to. Because as it stands, we're not going to get this to sit flush because it's hitting right behind this bracket on the bushing, it feels like. I'm very close to it. Yeah, it's literally hitting on the nut. But that's a problem. I don't want to start cutting into the backside of this bumper like that. I got to. I'll check back in. So, right here is where the bumper was hitting at now that I've gotten it off. Yeah, it was hitting on the side of this bolt here because I guess where it comes in to have the two studs stick out, there's a little bit too much material, so I'm going to remove it right around there, and that will allow it to actually sink closer into the body. It came off without a hitch though, so that's cool. I wasn't too worried about it. This side doesn't seem to have as much of that problem because when I was in here fiddling with it, it seemed like it would sink in where it's supposed to be. I'm still probably going to take a little bit off it right there, but that's about it. So you can see that right there where it's been hitting at. I mean, that's not even just dirt, that's physical marks from where it's supposed to be sitting in a little bit. So it's literally marked out for me where it needs to be trimmed at. So we're just going to kind of cut into that just a little bit. That should cover it. And over here you see again how it's not really an issue. There's a slight mark right there, but take a wee bit out of that, a little bit more out of that, and we'll get this thing back on. Just like this. The other thing that we're gonna do is, like I said, take a look at these headlight gaskets and see if we can do some adjustment while the bumper's off. Because you gotta have the bumper off in order to get them out because they've got mounting points and stuff like that that are forward. So yeah, this one isn't as bad on the gasket, but the passenger side, it kind of sinks like right there. I'm gonna see what I can do about that. I don't think I'll really know what the best approach is until I get the light at least dropped, see how this gasket's mounted onto it, because there might not be anything to do about it at all. Okay, so now that we've been in here for a second, I'm finally seeing what I wasn't seeing. In other words, the gasket, like I said, sits kind of low, kind of weird down there, like right from about there to about there. And you can see right there, this is kind of like any 38 because it is made by Hella. So the engineering is the same, similar rather. So the gasket is supposed to have these little tabs that stick around, these studs, all right? So then that one's up there and this one right there is there. But you get back here, there's supposed to be one here and one there. And it's not. It's not there. And so I think that's why it's looking like this, because it doesn't have the proper tension, being pulling it each way. So the thing with that is to really just replace the gasket, which taking this light out is not a short task. Because yeah, you got that one. You've got, some back there that you get from up here. And then some interesting ones that are up here. So this is not just a pop it out type of deal. Alright, so this morning we are back on a 360 and I'm going to be replacing the headlight gaskets because we noticed that a couple of the tabs were missing, which is what's making this one sink in a little bit. So he had them redone, so they took them apart, new lenses, painted the inside, stuff like that. But yes, the tabs on these gaskets broke. These are the tabs in question. It's supposed to be a soft, rubber, and it hooks around the back side of the light. But yeah, a couple of them are missing on the sides of both of them actually. So we ordered some from Europe, which came in very oversized boxes. Like, why do we need a box that big? I don't need a box, 2 boxes this big, and then bags that are that big for 2 of these. But, you know, it is what it is. So I am currently pulling everything out. I already got the first bracket off, and I'm gonna continue to unbolt the thing and get this thing out so we can replace the gasket. Shouldn't be too bad. All right, so these are the tabs in question. Like I said, they just, like really any other car, or a lot of them that I've worked on, they just sit around the outside of it and hook onto these little tabs. The other one is the one that has most of them missing, particularly I think this one and one of the back ones. So you can see it's already starting to, you know, it's drying out a little bit, so probably caught it at a good time. Looks like they also glued it in places right there to keep it where it's supposed to be. So we'll clean all of this up, get that off, and undo this tab. Yeah, they definitely stuck a bead of something around it, which I can understand why. They probably didn't want to pay for new ones, which again, I understand why. And pop this one off here, this one off of there, just like that. So next is to make sure that I got the right one out of the box. I want to put them on the wrong side. I'll double check that and we'll get it put back on. And now we got the right one. Big space between these two. Big space between those two. We're in. Then installation is the exact same as taking it off. I'm not gonna hold the camera for that one. I wanna be careful. But I'll get it right on there, and like I said, just pop them on the tabs after I clean up all of this, and we'll get it stuck back in the car. But while it's out, I can show how I got it out. So undid, like I said, this bracket, the HID ballast had to be undone from up here, and the whole thing comes from here and slides straight back out. So that was one of the bolt holes. That right there is the adjustment hole, so if you need to aim them. And then there were 2 right here. I had to take the horn out to get to this one because the horn sits right there. Bumper had to come off, obviously. So yeah, there's quite a bit of work that goes into taking the headlight out of a Ferrari, but look at it. It's just like that, that's on. I think it's gonna have to settle a little bit once this rubber gets kind of, you know, now that's where it's supposed to be instead of being in an oversized box. But that's gonna settle a little bit. We will get it put back in. What we're doing here is trying to make sure the gasket doesn't get pinched or anything while it's going up in there, because it is a tight fit. I might have to lubricate it just a little bit in order to get it to happily go in there. So I'll probably do that, but that's how it goes in. Alright, so lubricated with some soapy water. Goes right in. You adjust it a little bit more right there, and everything else looks great. Right here is the other one where you can see those 2 tabs are missing. This one's pretty dry. That one's good. Barely hanging on. And the front 2 are also missing. This is what prompted us to get replacements. All right, that's in. Gasket is nice and even. And over here, the gasket is nice and it is even. We got the inner liners put back in, everything bolted back up. The bumper is aligned. It's aligned over here, so that means that modifications I did to the inner portion, about like right there, were effective. So yeah, this portion's done. Taillight gaskets are in, bumper's back on and aligned. No, I didn't get too much video after this, just because he didn't want me to put the car all the way back together because he was going to adjust the coilovers and things like that. So I just got a lot of stuff cleaned up, took a couple before and after pictures, and then kind of left the car in the state that it was back in. I mean, the bumper went back on, the all the plastic liners and stuff like that went back on, but for the most part, he wanted to take it from there as far as getting things buttoned back up. So I left that to him. But this was a really fun project to work on, and I'll actually be working for him again here in the future. So stay tuned for that.